Hello, everyone. I'm your storyteller. I will read a story that maybe one of you has experienced, and I am here to help you today. I know you're using this video to help you sleep. So before we begin, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Tell me in the comments where you're from and what time you're watching. Lay back comfortably, relax, and let's begin. Story 1. Marcus always had a packed routine. As a renowned chef in Chicago, his days were consumed by the chaos of the kitchen, exclusive parties, and the relentless pressure of maintaining his Michelin star. But that night was different. Sitting alone in his quiet apartment, Marcus opened a dating app, trying something new. After a few meaningless swipes, a profile caught his attention. The woman's name was Sophia. Long brown hair, a warm smile, and a simple bio that read, "A lover of food, mystery novels, and deep conversations." Marcus felt intrigued. Within minutes, they began chatting. The conversation flowed effortlessly. Sophia seemed to understand Marcus's culinary world, even mentioning some of the city's top restaurants she had visited. "How about we meet for dinner?" Sophia asked. Marcus hesitated for a moment, but there was something about Sophia, something that made him say, "Why not?" Marcus grew up in a humble family. Cooking was his escape from the harsh realities of life. Years of hard work eventually led to his own restaurant, a pinnacle of success, but success came at a cost: loneliness. Sophia, on the other hand, remained an enigma. Marcus knew little about her from their chats. She described herself as a freelance writer, and her dating profile was minimal, offering just enough to pique curiosity. They agreed to meet at a cozy Italian bistro, known for its intimate atmosphere. When Marcus arrived, Sophia was already there. She wore a simple black dress with a delicate gold necklace glinting under the dim light. "Marcus?" she asked with a smile. Their conversation flowed smoothly that evening. But there was something about Sophia Marcus couldn't quite place. Her gaze felt too intense, as though she knew more about him than she let on. The week following their meeting, Sophia began contacting Marcus more frequently. Her texts were warm at first, but soon turned demanding. "Why didn't you reply to my message?" Sophia asked one evening. Marcus apologized, explaining he'd been busy in the kitchen. However, strange occurrences began at his restaurant. One night, he found a shattered vase in the dining area. No one admitted to breaking it. On another occasion, a kitchen staff member claimed to see someone standing outside the kitchen window, but when Marcus went to check, no one was there. Marcus decided to dig deeper into Sophia's background. He reached out to a friend who specialized in digital investigations. The findings were shocking. Sophia's photos on the dating app were stolen from another account. That evening, Sophia unexpectedly showed up at Marcus's restaurant. She sat at a corner table smiling as Marcus approached. "Why haven't you been answering my messages?" she asked, her tone icy. Sophia invited Marcus to her apartment that night. Reluctantly, he went, determined to confront her about what he discovered. When Marcus arrived, the air felt heavy. Inside, he was greeted by something far worse. Her living room walls were covered with photos of him, taken secretly in various places. Sophia appeared behind him, holding a knife. Her voice was low and chilling. "You're mine, Marcus," she said. A struggle ensued. Marcus managed to escape, but not without injuries. He ran through the streets, blood dripping from a shallow cut on his arm. Even today, Marcus feels the weight of her presence, as though someone is always watching. Story 2. Alex Stone was a name known to anyone in the architecture world. His sleek, innovative designs had reshaped city skylines, earning him awards and prestige. But beneath the surface of his success lay a hollow loneliness. Years of long hours and tight deadlines had left Alex with little time for relationships. He told himself it didn't bother him, but on quiet nights in his minimalist apartment overlooking Chicago's glittering skyline, the silence was deafening. It was on one of these nights that Alex downloaded an app, a dating app he'd heard his younger colleagues rave about. Scrolling through profiles, he dismissed most of them. Then he saw her, Clara. Her bio read, "Architectural historian with a love for Gothic design and hidden secrets." They matched. In their first conversation, Clara seemed perfect. She spoke passionately about architecture, mentioning obscure details that only someone deeply invested in the field would know. She even referenced one of Alex's older projects, a boutique hotel in Berlin. "Your work inspired me," she wrote. For the first time in years, Alex felt intrigued. Alex was a man driven by precision. Born to modest beginnings in Boston, he had climbed his way to the top through sheer determination. His designs were his legacy, but his sacrifices were steep. Estranged friends, no family to speak of, and a failed engagement. Clara, however, was a mystery. She claimed to have studied architecture in Europe, with a focus on historical preservation. Her profile pictures exuded elegance, dark hair, piercing green eyes, and a subtle smile that hinted at a playful yet enigmatic personality. Their first date was at a small cafe near Alex's office. Clara arrived precisely on time, dressed in a flowing black coat. Her presence was magnetic, and her deep knowledge of Gothic structures captivated Alex. "You must visit this old manor outside the city," she said, her voice soft but deliberate. "It's a shame it's been abandoned. I could show you some sketches I've done of how it could look restored." Alex nodded, intrigued. The idea of exploring an unknown site appealed to the part of him that craved inspiration. Over the next few weeks, Alex and Clara grew closer. They exchanged messages late into the night, often discussing obscure architectural marvels. Clara shared detailed sketches with him. Her work was stunning, almost haunting in its precision, but things started to feel off. Clara would occasionally send him random messages like, "Have you ever felt like someone's watching you?" Or, "Some buildings hold secrets no one should uncover." One evening, she sent Alex a series of designs for what she called dream projects. At first glance, they seemed like standard blueprints, but as Alex studied them, a chill ran down his spine. The layouts resembled crime scenes he had seen in news reports, rooms eerily similar to places where violent murders had occurred. One even mirrored a case that had taken place just months ago in an abandoned warehouse on the city's outskirts. Alex confronted Clara during their next meeting. "These designs," he said, sliding his phone across the table, "they look disturbing." Clara smiled, unbothered. "Architecture reflects life, Alex. Sometimes it mirrors the darkest parts of it." Alex couldn't shake the feeling that Clara was hiding something. He decided to dig deeper. A friend in cybersecurity helped him look into her online presence. The results were startling. Clara's credentials didn't check out. There were no records of her studying architecture anywhere. Even more troubling, her photos matched those of a missing woman from 2 years ago. Alex felt the walls closing in. That night, he received a text from Clara. "I'll be at your next project tomorrow. Can't wait to see it." The project was a high-rise still under construction on the edge of town. Alex hadn't told her about it. How did she know? The next day, Clara was there, standing among the construction workers. She smiled as Alex approached, her green eyes gleaming. "This place," she said, running her hand along the steel frame, "has so much potential and so many shadows." That evening, Alex followed Clara's car to a derelict mansion on the outskirts of the city. The same one she'd mentioned on their first date. The place looked like it had been forgotten for decades. Inside, the air was thick with decay. Alex found sketches pinned to the walls, each depicting rooms of the mansion. Some were eerily familiar, layouts from Clara's earlier designs. "Do you see it now?" Clara's voice echoed from behind him. Alex spun around. She stood there, holding a crowbar. "This house, it speaks to me. It's where the real me comes alive." "What are you talking about, Clara?" Alex demanded, his voice trembling. Clara stepped closer. "I don't just study buildings, Alex. I transform them. People say I'm obsessed, but it's more than that. Buildings like this deserve to be remembered, no matter the cost." Alex realized with horror that she wasn't alone in the mansion. Shadows moved in the corners of the room. Other victims. In a desperate struggle, Alex managed to escape, but not before Clara left a lasting scar, both on his arm and his psyche. To this day, Alex avoids projects that stray too far from the city, and at night, he often dreams of Clara's green eyes watching him from the shadows. Story 3. Rachel Langston was no stranger to dark stories. As an investigative journalist, her days were spent chasing leads, uncovering scandals, and exposing secrets that people would rather keep buried. But when the newsrooms quieted and the city lights dimmed, Rachel faced her own solitude. On a whim, she downloaded a dating app one evening. Her job left little room for a social life, and the idea of meeting someone outside her usual circles was appealing. Most of the profiles she swiped through were unremarkable until one caught her eye. His name was Daniel. His bio read, "Seeking connection in a world full of noise." His photos were understated. Bookshelves, coffee shops, and a warm smile that seemed genuine. Their conversation started innocently enough. Books, favorite cafes, and their mutual disdain for the overhyped tourist spots in the city. But there was something about him, something that made Rachel want to learn more. Little did she know Daniel wasn't just another profile, and their connection would unravel a story darker than any she had ever written. Rachel was known for her tenacity, Her articles had exposed corrupt officials and brought justice to victims who had been silenced for years, but the work took its toll. She was often accused of being too serious, too guarded. Her last relationship had ended when her ex said, "You care more about your job than you care about us." Daniel, on the other hand, seemed like the perfect foil to Rachel's intensity. He had a calming presence. On their first date, they met at a quiet cafe. Daniel spoke about his passion for restoring old furniture, his love for obscure literature, and his knack for finding hidden gems in the city. Rachel felt at ease around him, a rarity for someone who always had her guard up. They met 3 more times, each encounter leaving her eager for the next. Then one evening, Daniel stopped responding. At first, Rachel thought nothing of it. She told herself he was probably busy, but as days turned into a week, her texts remained unread. Something didn't sit right. Daniel had mentioned a small bookstore he frequented. Determined to see if he was okay, Rachel visited the store. The elderly owner remembered him, but said something odd. "That guy? He used to come in all the time, until a few weeks ago. Haven't seen him since." Rachel's instincts kicked in. She decided to look up Daniel online. To her surprise, there was almost no trace of him. No social media, no professional profiles, nothing. That night, she received a text from an unknown number. "Stop looking for me." Rachel's curiosity turned into obsession. She reached out to a friend who worked in cybersecurity, asking for help to dig deeper. A few days later, her friend called, his voice tense. "Rachel, you need to stop. Whoever this guy is, he's wiped his tracks, and that's not normal, it's professional. Be careful." Ignoring the warning, Rachel continued her search. She started visiting places Daniel had mentioned, a park he liked, the furniture workshop he talked about. At one of the locations, she found something chilling. Pinned to a tree near the park bench Daniel had described was a note. "I said stop." Panic set in. Rachel returned home that evening, her thoughts racing. As she unlocked her apartment door, she noticed something was off. A book she had left on the coffee table was now on the floor, open to a page about stalking cases. She wasn't alone. Rachel decided to confront Daniel. She traced his last known location to a cabin in the woods, about an hour outside the city. Armed with a flashlight and her phone, she ventured there one rainy evening. The cabin was eerily quiet, its windows dark. Inside, she found a disturbing collection of items: photos of women, notes detailing their routines, and a map marked with locations, including her apartment. Suddenly, a creak echoed behind her. Rachel spun around, her flashlight catching Daniel's face. "You weren't supposed to find this," he said, his voice calm yet menacing. Rachel backed away, her heart pounding. "What is this, Daniel?" she demanded. He stepped closer. "I needed to know you were different, that you wouldn't pry, but you couldn't help yourself, could you?" In a desperate move, Rachel threw the flashlight at him and bolted for the door. She ran into the woods, her phone slipping from her hand in the chaos. Behind her, Daniel's footsteps closed in. Just as she thought she wouldn't make it, a passing car's headlights illuminated the road ahead. She flagged it down, screaming for help. Daniel disappeared into the shadows. Rachel escaped, but the ordeal left scars, both physical and emotional. To this day, she keeps her doors double locked and avoids dating apps entirely. And sometimes, in the dead of night, she wonders if Daniel is still out there watching.